Another ex-president that has caught my attention for today's podcast is the orange vomit. Did you hear? Of course you did. What this dumb son of a bitch has done? He has filed class action lawsuits. Class action that target Facebook and Google and Twitter and their chief executive officers. Yeah, class action lawsuits against them. Now, this is just another step in his absolute gut-level stupidity and another escalation in his constant struggle against these companies. Trump feels he has a right to use these companies for fascist propaganda and lies and deceit. And the companies say, well, no. Anyway, the suits were filed in the Southern District of Florida, which is a real shithole, trust me. And Trump said at a news conference in his new nest in Bedminster, New Jersey, at one of his country clubs where the cheeseburgers are trucked in now. They bring them in and goddamn, I don't know, they must have a huge freezer in the basement. But they bring in these double cheeseburgers frozen from just about every hamburger franchise there is. But anyway, that's where he's at. So in this news conference in Bedminster, he said that the lawsuits that he's filed are demanding or asking the courts to issue an order that will block these companies' alleged censorship of the American people. Oh my God. Oh yeah. Yeah, I feel real censored by Google or Twitter. You see some of the shit that I put on my Twitter feed? Are you kidding me? Oh my God. In the lawsuit or at the news conference, the Orange Vomit said this, quote, "We're demanding an end to the shadow banning, a stop to the silencing, and a stop to the blacklisting, banishing, and canceling that you know so well." That you know so well. You're the only lump of horse dung who ever served as president who's been told to piss off where concerned using social media. Only you, Trumpsky. So now this is the part that shows the enormous stupidity, not ignorance. Ignorance is curable, but the enormous malignant stupidity of this jerk. The lawsuits allege that these companies violated Trump's First Amendment rights in suspending his accounts. And he argues that Facebook, in particular, should no longer be considered a private company, but should be considered, I guess, for the workable nature of his lawsuit, should be considered a state actor. But, you know, companies can't violate anyone's First Amendment rights. Companies, you orange vomit puke you, don't grant or withhold First Amendment rights. That's the U.S. Constitution. And what it means, Trump, you miserable idiot, is that the government can't censor speech. A private company can do anything regarding speech that it chooses to do. And if it is terribly offensive and pisses off enough people, then a class action lawsuit among those people can be filed against the company, but not for violating the company's First Amendment rights. There is no such creature. Maybe they could file a class action suit that says the company is just pissy and they're pissed off. Whatever. But there has to be standing, Mr. Trump, and you don't have any, you half-witted moron. Oh my God, this just gets curiouser and curiouser. Now, the First Amendment constrains government actions. Can you imagine if all of a sudden a bunch of people that Trump considered undesirables showed up at his Bedminster Club or his his various clubs, and demanded the right to camp on the fifth green? And Trump denied them, said, get out of here. And they filed a lawsuit that says he's violating our constitutional right of free association and the right to assembly. In trying to understand the orange vomit, or trying to work around anything about him, one has to be willing to descend into the lowest levels of madness, into the lowest levels of gibberish and malignant narcissism. And trust me, because I've been doing it for 5 years now, almost 6, it's dangerous down there. It is dangerous. There are giant fanged frogs down there. There are bats that have what look like human hands, and they grab you around the throat as they suck out your blood. This is where you have to go in order to try to understand and consequently offer up an argument against the orange vomit. It's a risky place. If you saw the movie What Dreams May Come, did you see that one? If you didn't, you should see it. A Robin Williams movie. He was the main star. What Dreams May Come. I think that's the title of it. But there is a depiction in there of the descent into the underworld, because the Williams character is trying to get to his wife, who had committed suicide after their 2 children were killed. So the Robin Williams character has to descend through these layers and levels of the afterlife. And it is some of the most frightening scenes ever put on celluloid. I swear to God, or whatever they use now, I swear to God, it is frightening. Well, that's the area that you have to go to if you're going to talk about, argue with, try to understand, parse, or destroy the stupid bullshit that comes from Trump. You have to get down in that area in order to do it. Or you can just ignore him. And I, for the life of me, can't. So these lawsuits also call for the courts to strike down something called Section 230. It's an internet law that's been around for decades. It protects tech companies from lawsuits over content moderation decisions. In other words, it protects companies when they decide, no, for whatever reason, when they decide, no, I'm not going to put your gibberish up on my website. No, I'm not going to allow you to say that. These go beyond free speech issues, which private companies are not involved with to begin with. Now, the fun part is that these lawsuits seek unspecified punitive damages. This grifter son of a bitch, I swear to God. I swear to God. Now, legal experts, tech experts, as you can imagine, immediately criticize this bullshit, saying they had no chance of succeeding. Here's a guy, Eric Goldman, professor at Santa Clara University Law School in California, said that dozens of similar lawsuits have gone right into the shitter when they appear in court. I mean, these are ridiculous. Professor Goldman said Trump, quote, is playing a standard media game. It fits into a broader pattern of the former president bringing lawsuits and then not vigorously pursuing them. No, Trump only does that to intimidate people. You're not going to intimidate Facebook. You're not going to intimidate Google. Are you kidding me? Anyway, Professor Goldman added, quote, there's no way a plaintiff has been able to get traction. And there's no way that Trump is going to be able to get traction either. Well, of course not. Of course not. And then you have the deputy director of the NYU Stern Center for Business and Human Rights, a guy named Paul Barrett. He said the lawsuits are dead on arrival. Well, yeah. You don't have to be a law professor. You don't have to be an expert on constitutional law. You just have to be willing to descend into those pits of Hades that I just told you about to understand the madness of this son of a bitch when he files a class action lawsuit saying that he and the American people have been denied our freedom of speech by Facebook, Twitter, Google. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The guy from NYU said, quote, Trump has the First Amendment argument exactly wrong. What he's doing is attacking the companies who fueled his political rise. And the companies that served as his absolutely necessary megaphones during his presidency, until both Twitter and Facebook said, enough of this shit, and banned this orange lump of crap. So since then, of course, since he's been banned, Republicans, read Christian fascists, have been escalating their political bullshit attacks on these social media companies, calling the move censorship. Now, I have issues with these social media companies. You're damn right I do. Absolutely. But abridging my right to free speech is not one of them. No, I fault them for not banning this lump of poison from the very beginning. I mean, my God. Come on, Zuckerberg. How many billions do you have to own before you wake up and realize that your platform is being used as a recruiting tool for Nazis in this country? Zuckerberg, you're a Jew. You don't get this? I mean, I understand why a lot of Gentiles don't get it. Because they're because they're totally brain dead. But you're a Jew, Mark. You don't understand what Trump has been using your company for? I mean, you understand it now, but I don't understand why you did. I don't understand why you didn't come to terms with that at the very beginning of this lump of poison's pregnancy. A pregnancy, presidency, blah! Presidency. Now, Trump is going to have an uphill battle in court, and I'm sure the attorneys realize this because of this Section 230. And the lawsuits are likely to face claims that any action against these platforms, Facebook or Twitter or Google, whatever, violates their First Amendment rights because the action would be coming from an instrument of the U.S. government, a federal court. And no, wrist slap. You can't do that. Just last week, for example, according to the Washington Post, a federal judge cited the Constitution, its holy self, in blocking a Florida social media law from taking effect. In Florida, of course, that law would have levied fines against tech companies if they suspended the bullshit garbage of politicians during the campaigns. And the court cited the Constitution, and I can imagine they said, get out of here. What are you talking about? Take this lawsuit and put it where the sun don't shine. And I'm sure they're going to tell that to Trump, too. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.